Hey everyone, my name is Savraj Singh and I'm here to talk to you about Gurdwara and Sangat, nurturing Sikh heritage in our youth. Now the Gurdwara is the Sikh place of worship, the Sangat is the congregation, and I'd like to pose the question, well, who are the youth? I think there are three groups of youth that concern the Gurdwara and Sangat. The first group is the little kids group. So here are some pictures of little kids around the United States and the world. So that's group one. Group two, we have teenagers, ages 12 to 19. So here we have some teenagers playing basketball, doing the Sikh martial art called Katha. We have some other photos from around the country here. So those are teenagers. And the last group of youth are the young adults, age 20 to 29, and I'm 28 years old, so I can count myself in the group of the young adults. Here are some photos from the Seattle Sikh retreat last year. Okay, so we had those three groups of youth, the little kids, the teenagers, and the young adults, and the topic is Gurdwara and Sangat, nurturing Sikh heritage in our youth. So how are we doing? How are we doing on nurturing Sikh heritage in our youth today? Well, to answer that question, we need look no farther than the Gurudwara and Sangat report card. So this report card is based on a single metric, Gurdwara attendance, from my own sort of empirical observation of Gurdwaras around North America. So I'd say for the little kids group, the Gurdwara attendance is high, and we're doing great. We have tons of little kids showing up at Khalsa school, memorizing, and reciting Japji Sahib, for example, learning Kirtan. Little kids, amazing. Teenagers, I think we see a drop-off when we hit the teenagers, that age group. The attendance is low, and I think it needs improvement. And young adults, my own age group, I'd say Gurdwara attendance is very low. So if we use that attendance as a metric of how we're doing, in terms of keeping people interested and engaged with the Sikh faith and nurturing the Sikh faith, I'd say, it needs. We're doing great with little kids, but we have some areas that need improvement. So let's focus on the areas that need improvement, which are the teenagers and the young adults. What we want to do as a Gurdwara and Sangat is create a nurturing, interesting environment. Okay, if it's nurturing and it's interesting, we set up the scene for what I call the spark. The spark is what happens when you yourself realize that Sikhism is very interesting, and you yourself realize that you want to learn more and become a better Sikh. We can't force anyone to believe anything. All we can do is create the ideal conditions for someone to have that realization themselves, and I'd like to call that realization the spark. So, with that in mind, with this goal in mind, here are 5 things I think we can do to create a nurturing and more interesting environment for our youth. You can see them listed here. I'm now going to talk about each one. The first is this idea of Katha in English. Now, again, from my own understanding, I think many people like myself and teenagers and others, they come to the Gurdwara, they listen to the Kirtan, they look at Sikhi to the max, but they don't understand the Katha. Now, the Katha is it can be sort of analogized to a sermon where some particular issue of Sikh theology is sort of discussed by an expert on the Sikh scriptures. Now, it turns out that a lot of us don't understand this, and it's mainly a language issue. And so if we had do something like what the Philadelphia Gurdwara is doing, which is they meet after the Divan and just discuss the Katha in English after the Divan is ended, I think that would be really great. I think people would feel more engaged and their minds would start, becoming more active and sort of thinking and learning. So if we had, maybe a few words on the slides, keywords of Gurmukhi or Punjabi translated into English on a slide, or maybe after the Divan have a discussion about Katha in English, I think a lot of learning and a lot of growth could take place. The next idea is Gurbani Veechar. So let's talk about Gurbani. Let's focus on a particular Bani, understand what it means, so we don't need to have Katha in English. And let's learn the words and their meanings and their context. I think the benefit here is that the teenagers and the young adults will be able to use the tools that they pick up in the American education system that I have as well, sort of analysis, literary analysis and such, and use these tools to learn about their own faith, and I think that's extremely valuable. Okay, so that's Gurbani Veechar. Another topic is the youth group. Play sports, have fun, get together, create a community, be excited to go to Gurdwara to meet your friends, and do seva. A great example of a successful thing is the Sikh program, where they create food, make langar, and serve the homeless. So I think that's a great idea, and I think it's give people an opportunity to see role models, feel good about Sikhi, and again, create an opportunity for the spark. And then a weekly youth speech. I think a 5-minute speech in English done by a different kid from this Gurudwara Sangat would be great. It would be an opportunity to learn about our wonderful, amazing history that we have as Sikhs, and it might turn out to be some of the most interesting content in a divan for someone that shows up and doesn't grasp all of the Gurbani or the Katha. So I think this could be a great way to sort of get people's attention and get them interested in their own faith. And finally, Sikh retreats and camps. These happen around the country, and I think they're just incredible in terms of creating a safe environment where people can interact, think, ask questions. It's that thinking, that process of learning that goes beyond just the regular routine of a Gurdwara that I think really creates a great opportunity for the spark and really creates an opportunity for people to learn and grow as Sikhs, who are, by definition, always students. I'd also like to point out that we've met with much success. We have Sikhi to the Max, we have speech competitions. All of these things have already sort of been implemented by many Gurdwaras in different ways. None of these ideas are terribly new that I propose. And we already have many camps around the country. Here's a couple links. So we're already sort of moving in this direction, and I think these are just some highlights that we can think about. The other thing we can note is that other faiths do an excellent job of trying to engage the youth. We have a lot in common as Sikhs with other people of faith, and as we've learned from the many interfaith events that we participated in, we have a lot in common. And I turn to my Christian friends and ask them, wow, you're such a devout Christian, how did that happen? And they say, oh, when I was in a youth group at my church and I was 15 years old, at that point I had that epiphany, that realization that, wow, this religion is really for me. And I think these ideas that I've proposed sort of fall in line with what I've seen from my friends of different faiths, and I think they can really help, and we can also really learn from people of different faiths as well. So again, here are the 5 actionable solutions. By implementing these ideas, by taking these steps, I think we do, you take some steps in the, ensuring the future of Sikhi in America. So we could just keep things the same and see how it turns out, or we can try to work on those 2 areas that need improvement, the young adults and the teenagers. And if we can apply these ideas, I think we can really make the future of Sikhi much brighter in this country. With that, please forgive me for any errors. Love to hear your feedback. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.